Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're looking at Emma Raducanu's forehand from 2021, the year she had that great run at the US Open and won the tournament. And we're going to compare it to the changes that she's made at the Australian Open 2026, and there's a few interesting things that you can take from this video, so stay tuned and see what she's changed and whether or not you think it's going to be beneficial for her long term, or if you think maybe this is one of the problems to her current form. So as you can see here, this is at Indian Wells in 2021, the year before, the year she won the US Open. And this is a few months before, she played US Open, and she's just in a practice. So let's just have a look at her forehand here. So you can see as the ball comes in, just before the bounce, this is her set position. And what I like to do is I draw a line through her shoulders, and I like to have a look at where the head of the racket is. So the head of the racket's up more in this kind of racket angle. Her left arm is parallel to the baseline. So we can see her left arm is parallel to the baseline, and she's just about taking that left hand off the throat of the racket. So she's coiled, she's got side on, she's in a good position, and now she goes down into the racket drop, and she gets the strings facing this way. And the one thing I really want you to keep your eye on during this video is the height of her right hand. Okay, so when I draw that green line, her right hand stays almost under this green line like a bar. So it doesn't raise up above that green line, and that's a real key to the change in her forehand. So if I just reset it again, the ball comes in, the left hand is on the throat of the racket, so she's doing her unit turn. As the ball's coming in to land, she starts to coil her shoulders, and the left hand starts to come off the throat of the racket, and her right hand stays under the green line, so almost at her shoulder height. And you'll see that this is the biggest change that she's made in the forehand. Everything else, the contact point, she still has that bent arm forehand, which maybe in my opinion, the way she's currently hitting her forehand, this could be changed slightly. I don't think it gives her full potential hitting a forehand, especially in her grip. She's not that she is semi-Western, but she's not extreme semi-Western. I feel like maybe having a slightly straighter arm would actually give her a lot more leverage, but that's another video. The main thing is the preparation phase that she's changed. Okay, so now I'm gonna just forward it on to when she's at the US Open here. She's playing on one of the outside courts, and same again, just watching the ball coming in to land here. And she has a very, very similar setup. That left hand is on the throat of the racket, and just pay attention to the shoulder line. So I just like to get rid of that. I draw two lines through the shoulders like this, and we can just see how her hand stays under the line, and it doesn't rise above the shoulder line. And the tip of the racket, so the ball's just bounced here. She's separated. The racket head is now up, facing that way. It's not diagonal. And then she starts her take back, and then she makes contact. Okay, so pretty standard forehand. It's compact here. She can do a variety of things with this forehand, and there wasn't a real weakness to it. It was a pretty solid forehand. I think there's definitely potential there to have a bigger forehand and leverage it a lot better. But that, like I said, that's another video. So now we're going to forward it on now to Australian Open 2026. And, I think from what we've heard, I've seen a podcast, she's working with a new coach who's been making some technical changes to the forehand. and let's see what you think. So now she's got that left hand on the throat of the racket again for preparation. And now this is the big change. Let's forward it on to the next one. I think you'll get a better angle here. Okay, so it's coming in. So this is the biggest change, is the preparation position is a lot different. The racket angle on the preparation is now a lot more almost pointing down the other side of the court. It's almost, the tip of the racket is almost pointing at her opponent, and the take back is definitely higher, because now when I draw the green line through the shoulder line, we can now see that the left hand is still on the throat of the racket, but it's much higher. And you can see it's this angle now, whereas before that left arm was just parallel and straight. So she's actually taking it up almost above her head now. You'll also see her forearm is up here, whereas before it would just be on this line like this. And I'll do a comparison of the two in a minute, but we're just having a look currently at it. So the change that she's made is the preparation is now a lot higher. I guess the coach is looking to get maybe a bit more power and spin by trying to get that racket much higher. And now she's doing a bigger loop. So she's looping it down and round now, like this. So if I just use a squiggly line, it's a lot more high and then down and round to go through contact, like this. So in my opinion, what's happening now is this might be giving her a little bit more power. But what the problem is, when the ball comes faster, or you play, girls that have a high ball speed, you've got to be able to get your feet prepared much earlier. You've got to be quicker to get in position. Otherwise, you're going to get caught late on contact. And it just takes a fraction longer to get ready and set to hit the ball when you're doing this higher take back. And obviously, if you have time on the ball, fine, it's probably going to work. And this will probably work when she's playing on the clay swing. But when you're playing on, from what I've heard, slightly faster Australian Open courts, there's potential here to be getting a little bit late on contact or slightly rushed, because it just takes a fraction longer to go up, high, down, and round. And I don't know if they've taken a little bit of inspiration from Carlos Alcaraz's forehand. I'll just show you a comparison to him. Okay, so I've got Carlos on the left, and you can see how I feel like maybe they've tried to take a little bit of a technical comparison from Alcaraz and try and implement that into their game, because you can see Carlos has the racket sort of strings out to the side, tip of the racket almost pointing down, pointing at his opponent's side of the court that way. And you can see how the forearm is now up, so it's not straight, and the left arm has, it's raised, it's up above the head, the hand is on the throat of the racket. So there's a few similar takes here, but the key difference is Alcaraz, you can see that he doesn't take that racket too far above his head. So if I just draw a line kind of through his head here, and I draw a line through Emma's head, you can see how much higher Emma's racket is above the head. And that is a key difference, because Alcaraz is going to be able to keep his swing more compact, more explosive, and be able to not get rushed on that side because it's a little bit more compact and lower, whereas Emma's is definitely a little bit higher and more loopy. So I think this is one of the key differences when you look at probably Alcaraz, one of the best forehands in the game. And this subtle detail can definitely make a difference. And I know Emma's probably trying to look for a little bit more sort of loop in her swing to potentially get more power, but it's about being able to do this explosively without it taking too much time to prepare for the shots. Otherwise, you're going to get rushed, and it's going to be difficult, especially in windy conditions or, surface changes just to adjust these bigger swings. Whereas Carlos can really keep it simple and repeatable over time, and I think that's why he has great success. The other big difference between Carlos and Emma is the contact. With this style of forehand, a bit more sort of Roger-like and almost Dimitrov-like, they make contact with a straight arm with this technique, whereas Emma has the bent arm forehand. And that just shows you, and she's not that extreme on the grip, so in theory, I always think when you use this style of technique, you've got to be trying to make contact further in front instead of have that bent elbow on the contact. When you hit with a bent elbow, I always like to look at players more like Novak or almost Sabalenka or Sinner, and you'll see that they're slightly more semi-Western, and that helps a bit more to hit with the semi-Western grip. Personally, I think the way she's hitting the ball, she should be hitting out in front with a straight arm, a bit more of a straight arm, but that is a difficult thing to change in it. That takes time to readjust that contact point. Okay, so here on the left, again, we're going back to 2021. I think that was when she won the US Open. If I'm not mistaken, it might have been something else. Yeah, I just checked that. She did win it in 2021, so all good. Yeah, so this is 2021 at Indian Wells, and let's just have a look at the forehand here. So what I'm going to do straight away is just draw the green line through the shoulders. Draw the green line through the shoulder. That side, so you can see here how the hand is kind of on the green line or in line almost, and the head of the racket, as she takes it back, it's a little bit more just kind of vertical. So we can see here the head of the racket's kind of more vertical, just pointing up. And that left arm, you can see how this left arm is just extended, like parallel. It's almost just out this way. It's straight across the body. It's not kind of bent. Before she kind of took it up and high. So then I'll just show you her new forehand here. So she takes that left arm higher now. It's not just parallel and straight. The forearm is also raised, and it's got that bend in it, and we can just see how much higher the hand is, and also the tip of the racket is more sort of diagonal, facing down the other side of the court. So it's just a higher take back. There's probably potential for a higher ceiling in terms of ball speed and maybe how hard she can hit the ball. But I think her forehand from 2021 maybe had a lower ceiling in terms of ball speed and pace, but I think was much more repeatable, probably a bit more consistent, able to adjust to different court speeds and balls, and overall I think just allowed her to just be a bit more consistent. Whereas the new forehand, this could take a bit of time for her to build this into her game, and maybe it's going to pay off, but I think this is the reason she could be struggling a little bit with adjusting to courts, wind, different ball speeds. It's just a little bit less repeatable and just takes a little bit more time to get set and use this technique. I think if you look at a lot of these modern players, it's about having a compact technique that you can adjust and repeat over time, again and again. And let's just have a little look at Sabalenka. So to be honest with you, this is the first time I'm actually looking at Sabalenka's forehand. So I'm just curious to see what she's going to do, because personally, being one of the best players in the world, I feel like she's going to have a compact swing, and I always use that green line as a great example, because you'll see Sinner and Alcaraz just stay under that line. So I'm drawing the line again through the shoulders, and just have a look at where the hand. Let's just have a look at where the hand goes the whole time. So yeah, straight away there, you can see how Sabalenka's hand is lower, and she gets that hand higher when she actually's got the racket back and set, but still nowhere near as high as where Emma has it. And we can also see how that arm is more sort of just straight and parallel to the baseline. And overall, I think she also has a slight bent arm, but I think the contact might be a bit further forward. Let's have a look again. So she has a great coil, Sabalenka, in her shoulder turn. So this arm stays more straight. It doesn't go too high, and the hand is there. And she gets the strings almost facing the back wall, a bit like Sinner. And I think, yeah, her forehand's just a little bit more compact. Yeah, definitely. So you can see, especially on the WTA tour, you know, that ball's coming in so fast, a lot of the time pretty flat, almost shooting through the court. You've got to be able to have a compact, maybe a lower tape back on your forehand, just to be able to repeatedly deal with those fast balls, especially when it's through the middle of the court. I just think playing on quicker hard court, that tape back, unless you're in perfect timing every time, it's going to be difficult to find consistency. And for sure, she's going to hit some good shots. I think here, like, it comes in, you can just see how high that backswing is now. Racket's almost up there. This left hand is crazy high now. And the time it takes for her to loop it and come round, I think you're going to struggle to be taking the ball early like this. But what I potentially see there is that maybe this will work when she's playing at the French Open on a slightly slower court, maybe. So that could be interesting. So I might just show you one more Sinner forehand, and you just see, personally, I think this guy's just got the best forehand on the tour at the moment. And let's just see what he does. Alright, so I've got Sinner here. I think this guy's just absolutely killing the ball with his forehand. It's so compact. It's just so efficient. And you can see how, you know, turns his shoulders. Left hand's on the throw of the racket. But look, he's not taking that racket too high. It's staying under his head. Whereas on Emma, draw the line through her head, you can see that racket's so high now. And then have a look at where the left hand is. Remember, we draw that line through the shoulder, and we can see, keep your eye on the right hand, and just have a look at how it just stays under the shoulder. Strings go to the back wall. Left arm is not too high, he just keeps it pretty straight here. He loads on his back leg, and then he makes contact with his bent arm. But even so, his contact's probably a bit further in front than Emma's. And obviously, I don't want to compare ATP players to the WTA, but I think there's still a few things that both sides can take from each other. So yeah, let me know what you think of Emma's new forehand, if you think it's going to pay off for her down the road, or you think maybe she's better off going back to that older forehand from when she had big success at the US Open. So let me know in the comments. Hope you enjoyed the video. And again, if you want your own game analyzed, hit the link in my bio and you can work with me online. I'll analyze your game and you can work one-on-one with me and I'll get you improving as quickly as possible. Thanks again. See you on the next video. Jack.